But the cultural tyranny we find ourselves in, with a generation of self-congratulatory victims, losers, and lazy people who don't get off their collective asses and do anything. I saw this tweet from an @Merman_Melville, and it said, this kind of went viral, this tweet. He says, kind of a bummer to have been born at the very end of the F-around century, if you know what I mean, just to live the rest of my life in the find out century. Wait, what? So just to be clear, I don't know who this dude or woman even is. I have no idea. It's not, the avatar is not even a person. But this has been making the rounds. You believe you were born in the find out century, and the decades before you, people lived in the F around century, just having a good time? You self-congratulatory. Think about this. I want to make sure my composure here is strong. You had a generation before you and a generation before them who lived through world wars that killed millions of people. You had 2 nuclear bombs dropped. You had the Cold War, the threat of nuclear annihilation, the Spanish flu, polio, the Depression, Jim Crow. You had the Vietnam War. You had mass social unrest in many cases. And you think you were born in the find out century after those people lived to, quote, just F around? You know, if there's one tweet that sums up this generation of people, and I'm not talking to the young kids out there working hard. I'm not. I really appreciate sincerely those, 16 to 25-year-olds. Listen, that's young now. It wasn't young a century ago, but it is now. That are out there busting their humps. You got Justin here, the intern, busting his butt. He could have sat around the whole summer and done nothing. Instead, he decided to go to work, make the world better. My daughter does the same thing. She goes out and she scoops ice cream, and that's her job. Thank you. Thank you for listening to the show. Thank you for doing what you're doing, and thank you for being you. But to these victims out there who believe that the generations before you were, quote, effing around while you're finding out the consequences of their effing around, I would really appreciate if you'd evacuate the United States as soon as possible. I'll charter the jet. If you all want to get in there and fly to North Korea, I'll charter the jet for you. You understand the lack of perspective you have for your elders, what people did for you so you could live in a free country with flat screen TVs and cell phones more powerful than probably the first space shuttle? You have any idea what these people did for you? So you could sit around and watch Netflix all day in your footsie pajamas and your Snuggie roasting s'mores and playing video games? You have any idea? You think that was the F around generation while you're finding out the consequences. Why? Because you've had a quarantine for a year, which I don't even agree with, by the way, but your leftist masters did that to you because you had to live with coronavirus. You know what it's like to sit on a food line at the Depression? My grandmother used to tell me about it. You know what it's like to be hungry at night? You have any idea? You know what happens when you're hungry at night? Ask someone. You start to dream about food. I bet you've never had that dream. I'll bet those of you who busted your butt, though, and came up maybe poor, grew up poor, you know that dream. I used to dream about Raisin Bran Total. Don't ask me why. Total used to be a cereal, and I liked Raisin Bran. But when we got really hungry, that was my dream, Raisin Bran Total. What was yours? I've never had that dream. Well, thank God you haven't. But I assure you, those Depression-era babies who were your grandparents in the, quote, F-around generation, they know exactly what that dream's about. What'd you dream about? Cheese, meat, steak, chicken, a sandwich? F-around generation. You believe this? Our cultural battle is the most important battle of our time. We've lost our culture to idiots like this. All right.